3 weeks. Yeah, sorry I skipped last week. It's been, yeah, been kind of, well, yeah, just crazy, weird, busy week with lots of, yeah, like App Store rejection issues and stuff I've been trying to deal with. So it's been, yeah, very frustrating, but it getting through it. Yeah, this is the first time ever on Thursday, so I know it's crazy. So maybe not a lot of people will show up since everyone's expecting Wednesday, but whatever. We'll go back to Wednesdays next time. So how's everyone doing? Or the few of you who are here? Hello. I'm good. Whoa. Holy hell. Some cool hair. Jeez. I feel like I shouldn't be watching this. Oh no. Oh, that's cool. A little laser thing. Oh, spiky things? Oh. I like the sped up music. Kind of works. So much going on. I love all the like spell effects and stuff. It's just like, whoa. What's up? I like the crossfades. It's very like montage. Very cool stuff. Oh yeah, yeah, of course. Merp. Let's see. How do I? Are there like different? I'm like such a YouTube noob. Are there like loves or other emojis, emotes, or is it just likes? That's true. Oh, I always like videos. I should just like have the videos in the background while I'm talking. I'm so bad at multitasking. I apologize for that. I know it's like when we're doing gameplay, I know I'm either sitting there like talking and doing absolutely terrible in the game, or I'm doing like not as terrible in the game and then saying nothing. So, yeah. Oh, very soothing. Um, but yeah, anyway, as far as, yeah, it's crazy. It's been 3 weeks since our last video. But yeah, this has been, like I said, kind of a frustrating few weeks. I've been dealing with a lot of like App Store issues, um, which is kind of interesting. It's a part of doing app development, in the modern era with app stores and things like that. You basically just, you get an update done and you send it off, and it usually has to be reviewed, and most of the time it makes it through reviews, but occasionally, you get some reviewer that finds some little thing, or in this case, it was like the Mac version, which, is not a big user base, but it's still like I want to keep it updated. So I apparently got a reviewer on the Mac version that was very either very thorough or having a bad day or something, because yeah, it got rejected. Like my update got rejected for like 4 reasons. So I had to spend a ton of time like going through and trying to address those and resubmitting and trying to get things passing. Almost there. I'm down to like one rejection. Um, but yeah, so the upsides are, they have all. I mean, this has happened with Google too for like the Android version. They have their little like checklists of exact things you gotta conform to and stuff. So in this case, one of them was like redirecting people out to a web browser to sign in. They didn't like that. So the upside is on the Mac version at least. This will probably come to other versions now if. So I kind of reworked this stuff a little bit, like simplified the sign-in screen. So there's Google Play or Game Center, and then I just renamed this to like sign in with an email address. So I need to get that translated and whatnot. But the nice thing here is, at least on the Mac version, you do that and you get a nice little inline thing. So now you can sign in without leaving the app. It's basically, it's going through the web browser type thing, but it's all in-app. So it just kind of makes it a little smoother. So I can do like Eric Fromming at just like my backup test address here. So sign in and then burp burp. You see my random names I just picked just to like test stuff. Also little things like this is cool. If you go to manage account, change your tag to Floop Diddle. Now theoretically, if this works correctly, this should pick it up in the game. Grand Blanc is now Floop Diddle. All right, excellent. Farewell, Grand Blanc. So anyway, yeah, I've been spending a lot of time doing weird little polishy bits and smoothing things over like that to try to make the app review gods happy. Like I said, I'm stuck on one last thing, which I'm going back and forth with them on, but hopefully that'll be done soon. But it is frustrating that it's kind of kept me from making progress on what I would consider more important things like the asset system in 1.8, but it is what it is. Why I postponed it today. So yesterday I had an appointment. Just kind of an appointment. I was actually upgrading my iPad. I know, another Apple-related thing, but I had an appointment to go pick my shiny new iPad up. So, which I know it makes no sense. The game's still not on iPad, but I'd like to have a new iPad to test it with. Voice is low. Are you guys able to hear me? I know this room is kind of echoey and crappy. Don't make it more louder. I mean, I don't. Yeah, I feel like I've never adjusted volumes on Discord recording stuff, so hopefully it works. I guess, yeah, here I'm adjusting the speaker volume, which makes no sense. But yeah, it was not a dentist appointment. It was a pickup nerd toy appointment. So anyway, that's what I've been up to. Like, hoping to get through all this app review stuff as soon as possible, and then get back to the fun stuff I was working on, which is finishing 1.8. So I did have. Let's see if there's any. I was working on workspaces stuff, so let's see if there's anything I had to show. Oh no, I'd have to add stuff. But basically, yeah, doing a lot of work on like if you throw JPEG files and other files into workspaces, then it'll automatically create assets out of them, and you'll be able to like auto download those through asset packs and things like that. So that stuff's, yeah, like I said, I was hoping to have it ready to do a demo today, but have to push that one back till next time. Darn reviewers. Ooh, volume issues. So, to be clear, everyone else hears me at okay volume, or should I tinker on my end? Okay. But yeah, no demo of asset stuff. I've been, like I said, all my time's been going towards fixing app review rejections and things like that. So it's extremely frustrating, but it's part of app development. There's only 24 hours in the day. I can't get that done and work on asset stuff. So, does make me kind of root for like the EU and places that are trying to kind of regulate that and being like, big tech companies, you can no longer tell people what can be on your stores. Like, it's up to the people. So there's that. I don't know. There's a part of me. It's always I've been a big fan of like simplicity of just having like, oh, there's just one app store on my iPhone and stuff. It's nice and easy. But seeing it from the other end, where it's like it can be a pain in the butt to get your stuff approved and figure out like why you're getting rejected and things like that. It's like I can appreciate it from the other ends too. Yes, that's probably the best solution. Is we need an extra hour in the day. I feel like an extra, more than 1 hour. I feel like an extra 1 hour wouldn't be enough. Honestly, for the most part, 48 hours in a day would be great. Yeah, I do feel so. It's like my overall life feeling is like, man, I wish there were twice as much time to like do things. There's so much stuff I want to do. Even with the game, I feel like I'm like hurrying to get features in, but at the same point, it's like, man, it's taking me so long. So anyway, plus it seems like getting older, like time passes faster. Like it's always funny to me when I hear people saying like, "Oh, I loved playing your game when I was a kid," and I was like, "What? It's that old? Oh my gosh!" Why I'm wondering, like, normally, so this was already going when I came in. Normally, there's like the start stream. That seemed, I don't know, does that like, or maybe it's the fact that it's a Thursday. Like, there's something different where, yeah, we sometimes we seem to get fewer people than other times. But whatever, it's not like. I feel like if there are too many people, it's worse because then it's like you can't really have conversations. It's more just like talking at a group. Still the black coffee cup. I know. Yeah. I really need to get stickers or something just to change that up. I am totally slacking. Oh yeah, I could just, or spaz stick. That's another thing I need, stickers. Ugh. Yeah. Though I don't know. Maybe I mean the coffee cup does get kind of warm. I don't know if stickers would. Well, I'm sure they're fine. Stickers can get warm. Like melt and emit toxic fumes or something like that. So, yeah. Is anything else new? I've been kind of out of touch here on the server front. Any major malfunctions with new test builds or anything like that? I'm still also in the process of 1.735. So I haven't put any test builds of that up yet. If you're on the server, oh yeah, you can't even see the changelog. Ugh. Yeah, maybe I should put a test build up, even though it's kind of technically not done yet. If you go to GitHub, you can see it here. Changelog. So yeah, some of this 1.735 stuff, this was also related to app review, is there were initially problems which I thought were from IPv6. I think a lot of times, at least on Apple's side, maybe on Google's side, when they review apps, they do it in like IPv6 only environments. So for anyone, if you're not familiar, there's what's called IPv4, which is the IP addresses that we're all used to, like 192.168.0.1. That's an IPv4 address. The internet is moving towards a place with IPv6 addresses, which are too long to remember and have colons in them. But basically, there's a ton more IPv6 addresses out there than IPv4. So that's where the internet is slowly going. And for things like app review, I think they a lot of times test apps in situations where it's only IPv6. So some of the stuff I was getting rejected for, I thought it was because I wasn't supporting IPv6 well enough. So I went through and did a bunch of stuff to where now the game can like connect to regional servers only over IPv6 and other things like that. There's still a few things, these work in progress bits for IPv6 support. I want to get this cleared up before I launch 1.735. But yeah, it's kind of all ties into the app review stuff, but it's also stuff that's just good to have. So I'm still trying to finish this stuff up too. It's also another thing that's taking me away from finishing 1.8. But like I said, it's all part of the app developer lifestyle. It is, I do love like doing game development and doing the whole like indie app game developer thing, but it's not all fun and games. There is a fair amount of this kind of stuff, just like busy work of like, oh, I gotta update this old code to support this new thing so that I don't get rejected from the store and stuff like that. So it's like I said, it's not all glory, but it's still fun. There might be a few things. Hopefully, this doesn't break stuff too much, but like, there's probably still a few things, like maybe in the save favorites part of, like the gather section in the game, where like that might need to be updated for the IPv6 changes. I'm not sure. Or there'll be things like servers will be able to advertise themselves using like 2 addresses if they want. That should be on the change notes. Whoops. There. Go back to changelog here. So yeah, there's a thing with if you're running a server. Yeah, you'll see it if you grab this latest version from GitHub, or as soon as 1.76, oh my god, whatever this version is, 1.735. As soon as this is available for test builds, there's new options where you can basically, in the config, you can list your server's IPv4 and IPv6 public address. So, a lot of servers will have both of them if you're reachable on, both. So this way you can kind of like specify it in your server, and then people will connect through basically either one of those is faster. So like I said, we might need to update like the favorites saving stuff to support like saving dual addresses or something like that. So we'll see. So yeah, lots of fun, dry technical stuff. Oh yeah, what's the hiccup? No, I did cut my hair. My hair was getting ridiculously long. I just haven't got it cut in a while, so I finally did. I took a short trip up to San Francisco, which is usually my home here in California. As I mentioned, I think before, I'm temporarily down in Southern California near Los Angeles I'll be heading back up probably in the next year or something like that. But yeah, I go up to visit sometimes, so I thought I should get my hair cut before I went and saw like some old friends and things, so they don't think I'm, like homeless or something. I'm gonna change it to drop down menu to view editor, open UI. What do you mean by not working out? Is it like it should be possible to do like drop down menus and things? Yo. Mr. Can't Beat. Well, normally it would have just been the 2 weeks delay, but last week there was something where, yeah, like I just really wanted to get I got one of the app builds rejected, and I was trying to fix some server issues at the same time, and it was just like super frustrating. So it was one of those things where like I really needed to take care of that. I wound up being on Discord for a chunk of time last week though, so there was technically almost still coffee with Eric. It was just like the old school type where just chatting on Discord. So if you go back to like dev discussion and go back in time 1 week, I was hanging out. So new characters and all that. That's 1.8 coming up. My focus right now is, once I get through this dumb stuff that's taking up my time, is getting back to 1.8, getting that wrapped up. Like I said, it's frustrating to have little side quests popping up like this, but just need to deal with them. Well, this one, like I said, the app review stuff. It's one of the frustrating part is like I don't know when it's gonna be fixed. Like I just have to try to address things and send in updates, and then they get rejected with So yeah, it's a little bit of like a feedback loop, an incredibly frustrating feedback loop. Have some tea instead of coffee. I mean, I've never been a tea person. I just love me some coffee. I probably should drink tea. Do you guys like tea? Side quests. Parents give you a time. Yeah, parents are good at giving side quests. Ooh, that sounds complicated. Normally the button is editable through button widget. Here, use pop-up menu. Can't edit the button. Oh. Well, pop-up menu, I mean, pop-up menu does, I think it creates a button under the hood, so you might just have to like find out what variable it's stored as or something. There might be some hacky way to do it. At this point, I feel like it's okay to do kind of hacky stuff with the existing UI and all that because it's like, it's very unlikely to change substantially. So at some point UI v2 will roll around, which is hopefully like a very cleaned up version. But for right now with the UI v1 stuff, like if you can find some hack to make something work, go for it. Can we use ChatGPT to create mods that will work in BS? That's actually a good question. Like I have never tried. I mean, ChatGPT is great for answering Python questions and things like that. I don't know if it would actually know Bomb Squad's API enough to be helpful. Let's ask it. This will be fun. How can I create a Bomb Squad plugin in Python? Holy moly, look at that. This looks, well, it looks a little out of date. Yeah, I was gonna say this is like 1.4 era code because it's got like the camel case. Yeah, this, huh. Well, though I guess I know I was reading that ChatGPT, like its knowledge of the internet was largely based on like 2020, like several years ago. So it probably there's probably a lot more like old 1.4 era stuff from that time than there was like 1.5, 1.6, 1.7. So yeah, that's interesting. I mean, it still may almost be helpful in terms of like it'll show you some 1.4 code and then you can figure out the equivalent. Mostly just like changing camel case stuff, or I guess it's a little complicated because it'll tell you like BS dot whatever, and you have to update that for the new feature set system and stuff, like import BAC and v1 as BS. Neospaz. Is there still like, is the term neospaz still in there? I know that was like when I was coding it back in the day, there was, old pre 1.0 Bomb Squad, there was like old Spaz. He looked a little different. And so like this one that we all know and love, somewhere in code he was referred to as like neospaz. So 1.4 neo, okay. So yeah, that's probably, so Spaz 2.0 is actually the Spaz that we have now. Even though it's weird because, anytime I'm talking about 2.0, that's usually talking about like future Bomb Squad. But so yeah, maybe there'll be like Spaz 3.0 at some point. Yeah, we'll see. In what way I know Mr. Smoothie? I mean, he was on the server. Like, that's basically it. That's how I know most of you folks, is through this server, or some folks through just emailing me in the community or whatever. But yeah, there's not too many people on here that I know like from outside other places or whatever. My cousin Michael pops up here every now and then. I know him from being his cousin. But yeah. But you will originally be a source code? Maybe, if I can clean it up at some point. And like I said, I would have to do a pass and like remove the copyrighted movie characters and stuff like that. Kind of sanitize it. I mean, I don't know if I would get in trouble for that kind of stuff, but I wouldn't want to take that risk. So I wouldn't mind like releasing the original ugly source code in all its glory. It is really kind of interesting to look at, because you can kind of trace back bits of like the current engine back to that. Um, so it's a little fun like archaeology, and like so much of the stuff is like so much shorter and simpler, and in a way that's good, but also in a way it's yeah, like things are definitely improved now, but it is kind of interesting to see where it started. Will you respond to me in DC if I send a message after one? I mean, if you want to like, as you can see by my many unanswered direct messages, I'm pretty bad at responding to direct messages. I try to sometimes. Like honestly, talking to me here is probably the best way to get my attention. But yeah, try to ping me again if you have something important to say, or not even important, but I'll try to respond to direct messages. There's some like I mean, I get a fair amount of direct messages on here, a fair amount of like emails, just asking random questions. I know I'm bad about responding. I try to. It does make me wonder. You read about like CEOs of big companies that like just respond to random people's emails, and like are they? Is that just like did that one person get like really lucky and like catch him at a good time, or are there actually people who are very good about going through and responding to like 200 emails every day or something like that? Um, so if I don't respond, I apologize. I'm not trying to be a jerk. It's mostly just. It's funny. The topic came up last week when I was like bumming around in just in chat here. Like I kept answering people or just just randomly chatting, and it kind of came up like, wow, Eric, you're very distracted by this or something. It is true. Like if I'm trying to work or trying to code or something, and there's like a chat off to the side, like it honestly does slow me down because I'll just like keep engaging with the chat and like breaking my concentration and stuff. I don't know if you guys are the same. Like if you're having to, get some hardcore work done or do some like legit tough coding or something, like are you able to multitask and do other things? Like I'm basically not. Like I gotta like shut out the world and just like focus on coding sometimes. Elon Musk says hi to me. I don't. I can't imagine a situation where that would happen unless he plays Bomb Squad or something. But I don't know. Elon Musk is such an enigma now. He's like he used to be just like he was like, oh my gosh, this cool Tony Stark character, and now he's definitely more like controversial. So it'd still be cool, but yeah. Do you have any other game? No. I did work on zombie gunship games with my buddies for a bit back in the day. So if you look those up, like Zombie Gunship Survival is the big one still. I think it's still out there. Zombie Gunship Revenant, that was another one. It was an AR game that was kind of fun. Those weren't, I was just doing the graphics basically for those, just helping my friends out. It was a lot of fun working with a little team, but I still kind of prefer working alone. I think even though it's very slow going, it's still it's just fun, like the indie lifestyle. My coffee, show me your coffee. It's my boring black evil cup, though it's not evil at the moment. It's got a little like white light. When the battery's low, it turns to a red light, which looks way cooler and way more evil. So yeah, coffee is not evil at the moment. Coffee is good. Does ChatGPT make images? I know there's like they upgraded it to like 4 something, 4.0, 4. There's some weird name for like the new ChatGPT. In a pop-up menu you can't edit. Huh. I'm leaving. This is night. Okay. Have a good night. Well, I might make it a short day if there's not too many of us. It seems like most people are probably used to Wednesdays, so we're having a pretty small turnout here. It's still nice to chat with you folks. 4 remain. When it gets down to just me, then I might cut it short. Well, this is probably my fault for not having Coffee with Eric for 3 weeks in a row. See, I'm getting people used to there not being Coffee with Eric. What a terrible world to live in. No pop-up menu, can't edit. So when you can't edit the button, there should still be under the pop-up menu, like there should be like a pop-up menu dot underscore button or something like that. I'm not leaving till. All right, we're just gonna hang out. Oh, that's cool. I did kind of think like it might almost be useful on this level to have like directions for which team goes which direction, because I have had people like ask me that, or playing the game and then people forget like which way am I supposed to be going. But that's cool. Sponsored by. That'd be a fun thing. Like you could buy sponsorships. I was reading that games did that sometimes, where you can pay some money and or pay in-app currency, and it'll just like list you as a sponsor under like the multiplayer section. Like this week sponsored by like Booby Chew or some random player name. Can you speak? I don't know. I've had mixed results with people speaking before. I mean, Yo, Mr. Sock, how you doing? Good to see you. I meant to respond to your DM asking about opacity on props. So I'll just mention it here. It could be something that we could get in for 1.8, because we're going to have to do a protocol change there, which is a bit of a disruptive thing. So it's like something I avoid, which is the whole reason for the scene, or like the scene versioning system to exist, so that it will be less disruptive. But right now, making a change like that would be disruptive. But since we have to do it anyway for 1.8, like we could try to slip that in. So basically, just like an opacity on props, that could be a doable thing. Oh, nice Rammstein concert, excellent. Oh, now I'm jealous. I want to play that. What was that Rammstein song I was playing for where we were talking about rocket chainsaws? Like there needs to be music. If there's a rocket chainsaw, it needs to have some like Rammstein like music that plays when you get the rocket chainsaw. Nice. Yeah, I could imagine that being a fun show. I haven't been to a concert in a while. I think since like pre-pandemic, so I'm jealous. Oh no, I saw Fatboy Slim in San Francisco like a year ago or something. So a little nostalgia there. Oh really? That's awesome. Have you been to many small concerts, or was this like? Yeah, I don't know if I've been to like a big ass concert. If you're talking about like arena scale, or just like huge, or like what do you mean by big ass? Or just like a big venue? Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I feel like all scales of concerts are fun, like big arena scale ones, or just like the little ones and like small venues. They're like kind of intimate but still fun. Not that I go to many concerts, but I enjoy the ones I go to. So yeah, Sock, just to catch you up real quick, I'm still working on the 1735 update. It's kind of there's a few outstanding bits. I know I wanted to forward that your way for the Eon stuff. There's still basically 3 things I need to get done for IPv6 support, and that's these 3 guys work in progress bits. So I'm trying to get those done when I can. I've been totally stuck this last few weeks in like app review hell, basically, just getting updates rejected and having to like tweak little things, and part of the process. But it's been it's kind of been slowing me down. So unfortunately, right after I'm done with Expedition, when will that be? Not that I have too much control over when 1.8 will be done. It's just like as soon as I can get it done. But 27th to 29th of May. Oh God. I'll do my best, but that might be a little soon. Well, this update for the one IPv6 doesn't actually change too much user-facing stuff. It's mostly just like on the back end, it supports IPv6 in like the networking layers and stuff like that. So theoretically, you shouldn't have to change much. Hopefully, I mean, maybe it'll still be tough to port. I'm not sure. The other change was new version of Python. It's yeah, 3.12 instead of 3.11 on the old one. But that again shouldn't theoretically require any changes. Yeah, I probably can't add that because if I add that on 1735, that means that nobody with 1735 will be able to join, or no servers on 1735 will be able to accept older players. You know, so it's kind of, well, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, there is like the protocol stuff. So there is the option. Okay, now, all right. Forget everything I said. I'm going back on it now. It might actually be possible because I forgot we did have, we did introduce like a server option, right? For like switching protocols. So it could actually be put in a new protocol and then like the server would just have to like flip that protocol on. So that might actually be doable. Okay, so forget what I said. I can see if I can do that. What was I showing? Oh yeah, I was going to show. Oh yeah. Let's. Sorry, I'm trying to do like 5 things at once here. Let me just build a server and check the config file. Make cmake server build. Let it do its little magical venv thing. So this is a recent change too, where Python, it'll just automatically create a little virtual environment for itself and install whatever Python junk it needs, and that's what it's doing right here. So you may notice, like the first time you run stuff, it takes a little longer than it used to, but that means you don't have to like juggle Python stuff anymore, which is very nice. It also means everyone will have the same versions of the Python stuff, so there should be less like weird bugs and things like that, where you know PyLint fails for somebody else, but it works for me, or you know stuff like that. Because everyone should be running the same versions. Hooray! Okay, anyway, what I was saying, all right, building, staging server at here. So, all right. So let's go ahead, bust this out. Badata. Oh, wait. There we go, config template. Okay, so the whole runaround was just to get this config template built. So this is the template for the server, which by the way is in TOML format now. It used to be YAML format. That probably shouldn't make a difference to most people. The nice thing about TOML is it's built into Python, so we don't have to like add extra stuff. It's also used for a number of Python-y things these days. And I'm going to be using it for like asset packages and stuff. So that's why we're switching to TOML instead of YAML. Like I said, it shouldn't make a big difference. It basically looks the same. You know, so just uncomment stuff, whatever you want to change. But the thing I was mentioning is, did we have protocol stuff here? Oh, here we are. Yeah, okay. Protocol version we host with. Yeah, so I can probably make like protocol version 36. It's just you'll have to like flip it on here in a server config for it to host with that. By default, it'll host with whatever the old version is that it's using now, which is still compatible with like the old 1.4 clients. So yeah. Okay, sorry, I'm getting caught up here. Harper, balls of energy. Well, we need balls of energy. So all right, this is number 1 on the priority list now. Forget the app review stuff. We need balls of energy. But I want to put that on like the changelog notes, just like one line, balls of energy. Sorry, going down the line. On value change call. Yes, the answer to this is yes. There's Python-y ways to do things. One thing you want to look into is, well, there's something I added in the game, which is called like call. So you can do like, let me just go find something here. So capital C call, if you look for this, babase.call. So the call function will basically wrap a number of arguments into a single callable thing. So you can use that to basically if something takes a callback, you can use this to kind of like wrap up a few parameters, and then the callback will pass the third one, so you can have a function that takes like three things. You can pass wrap two into the call, and then when call is called, it will get the third one. So there's also, it's called functools.partial. This is built into Python. It does basically the same thing. And that's why it's called partial, because it's like a partial function execution. You can pass it a few arguments, and then you can pass that partial into something else to get the last argument. So I would, mess around with that stuff, and you can do basically what you're saying. Hope that's helpful. It's in all like the major Ballistica APIs. So yeah, BUI will do it, or BA base, or BA scene. So whichever one you're using, there should be call available. Like I said, that's basically it. I think it does a few Ballistica specific things, like it wraps up like the context and stuff, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. But basically what you can use it for that, where like if you need to pass like some callable object in, you can pass in a call that already has like several arguments. All right, lots of good questions here. I will go down the line. So I hope that helps with on value change call. Use functools.partial or ba whatever.call. Still on 1733, migrating custom. Oh, sorry to hear that. I am working towards trying to get like a spin-off demo or something where I can show people to kind of how to build mods and things like that in a way that you don't have to like redo them every time for like 173x. That can like live alongside of it. Did I add the protocol stuff or did I dream it? I think I added that. Maybe you helped out with it, but that's kind of a low-level techno-nerdy thing. I feel like I probably added that. I think, remembering it now, there was a bug that was discovered where like camera shake was not showing up for clients, which apparently had been a bug since the game was made. And so I think I added an optional protocol increment to that adds a few things like, clients properly get camera shake now and stuff, but it's still off by default. So if you just host a vanilla server, you won't get camera shake on your clients, but 1.4 clients can join. So in the nearest future, I think 1.8 will probably be a good cutoff point. It might be a good time to start hosting with like the newest protocol by default, which means that 1.8 people will be out of luck for joining, 1.4 people won't be able to join 1.8 servers anymore, but at some point we got to move on. Like there's still going to be servers that'll support 1.4 people, but 1.4 hasn't been the latest version for many years now, so gotta move on someday. So the game is built with Python, I guess. How are we? So Python is open source. If you go to python.org, you can just download the source code to Python. And Android is not an official platform supported by Python, but there are plenty of examples out there of how to compile Python for Android. Android is basically Linux. It's like a weird mutated variation of Linux, but it's like the Linux kernel and a lot of, if you can get something working on Linux, you can probably get something working on Android. So in my case, I started with, where is it? Yeah, there's a number of like GitHub repos here, Python 3 Android. So this repo basically, it's kind of out of date. It hasn't been updated in a year or two, which I'm a little worried about. But it basically provides some code that will cross-compile Python for you. So you wind up with like a Python library that works on Android. So it's installed as part of the app. It's compiled in. It's just like C code that's the same as any other C code. It's all bundled into the app. It's not like available as a system thing on Android. Android system stuff is all, like their weird version of Java and Kotlin and stuff like that. But Python is something you gotta kind of build it yourself. Same with iOS. I have another similar thing where it's this little archive or repo where it's all about building Python on Apple's platforms. One cool thing is Python 3.13, which is the next version, which just went into like alpha versions now. I think the first alpha version has been released. One of the features is official support for Android and iOS. So that's cool to see. I don't know what that means realistically. It just means that like I think they will try to make sure that it compiles cleanly for those platforms. Right now it's kind of been like you're on your own sort of thing, which it does work. You know, you can see Bomb Squad is running everywhere with custom built Python, but it is a bit of work trying to like make that happen. All right. But yeah, classic coding situation. That is weird, especially now. Like I feel like with the code base that keeps growing and is getting older and older, it's like I really don't remember a lot of older bits of it. It's just like how to, you know, which is really fascinating because it's kind of like looking at your own code as if it's somebody else's code. It's like, how is this like, what idiot wrote this? You know, just like looking through and it does, you know, even though it is me looking at like 10-year-old code or 20-year-old code in some cases, it is still like a good way to learn. Just like, oh man, like this was a bad idea. This was a bad way to structure this. So you can kind of learn from your mistakes 10 years later. But yeah, also just in general, some days, like I really find that if I don't get enough sleep or something like that, or I'm just groggy, like I can't remember like where like APIs live and things like that. Also, I think part of that is like the code base getting bigger, so it does seem like I have to rely more on like searching for things as opposed to like remembering the exact you know, source file that it was in, just because there's bajillions of them now. I was reading that I remember hearing, I don't know how if this is scientifically true, but saying like the average human being can save is like several hundred or several thousand like faces that you can actually like remember and associate with names, and beyond that it's hard to, you know, there's some sort of like capacity limit we have for remembering exact things. But then you also hear stories of people that like, you know, memorize an entire book or, you know, crazy feats of memorization. So who knows? Ever be a friending system. So this is all the squad system, which is going to be the major feature of 1.9 and the big focus as soon as 1.8 is done. I mean, that's basically that. It's like the whole focus of that will be making it easy to invite friends to your little squad. I know it's called like the party system now, which originally it was intended to evolve into that, but it's really like in the existing game, it's basically just multiplayer. You know, join a game or because when I first made it, it was tied into like Google's like multiplayer API where you could like invite friends into your little group and stuff like that. So it was a little bit more like a, you know, what the squad system is going to be. But that part I had to rip that out because, you know, Google canceled that thing, as Google sometimes does. And so now it's basically, you know, like the party system is largely just like joining servers or hosting servers. I should just call it multiplayer. It's kind of, party is kind of a bad term. But the squad system, which is a very similar term, will be more like, you know, what the party system was envisioned as, which is more just like open the game and see that, oh, I have 3 friends online. Hey, invite them to my party or invite them to my squad. And then, you know, let's play a random game against another squad, or let's play a co-op game with the 4 of us or whatever. So very much more like, you know, the modern gaming experience that you expect to get where you're playing with friends online against random other people or things like that. Less about just like joining random servers. All right. Isn't that? Yes. It's the same with Mac OS too. All versions of, well, I shouldn't say all versions of the game. Right now, the Mac version that you get on like the App Store, if I can get them to ever start approving me again, that version includes its own Python. It's all self-contained. The Windows version includes its own Python. That's all self-contained. The Linux version right now, it uses system Python. So that's a little bit, it can be a bit of a limit if you are tinkering with the Linux version, because you have to make sure you actually have that version of Python installed. My goal at some point, because you know that's been on the to-do list for a while, is to get the Linux version self-contained. So I need to support this silly little Steam Deck, which is Linux. It also runs Windows binaries very well, but I would love to have like the native Linux Steam Deck version or Steam version in general. So that's kind of on the to-do list, is to basically do the same thing the Android version is doing, where it compiles Python itself and it like bundles it all up into the binary, and so it's just part of the game basically. So that's what the Steam version will need to do, because you can't with yeah, if you're running, like a Linux Steam game, it can't depend on like system libraries, because it can theoretically be running on any version of Linux and it might not have Python 3.12 or whatever. So it's a tricky situation, but basically, yeah, it has to bundle it. Okay, if I refactor bomb.py for easier bomb adding? Yeah, if you'd like to. I mean, that might be good to check with other folks here. I know it's terribly, yeah, not built for modding well, but yeah, if you'd like to refactor it and clean it up, definitely, keep me in the loop. I'd like to kind of see what you're doing, but yeah, or like I said, maybe check with other modders too, just to see if that would work well for them. But I'm in favor of it if it doesn't break anything in the existing game. My thought in general on refactoring that kind of stuff is I definitely want to do a lot of that for like Scene V2 and upcoming stuff. So I'm kind of avoiding it for the existing stuff because it's so established. But like I said, if you want to be careful about it and check with people, and if we can ensure it's not breaking anything in the game, I'm thumbs up from me. Because yeah, I know it is a little tricky to add more power-ups and add more bomb types and things like that. As is, it's kind of like monolithic right now, which is a bit of a bummer. As I said, I really want to focus on making that better in the future. I mean, it's amazing like what people have done, even with the crappy monolithic setup in there. I mean, I guess that's a testament to how awesome modders are, and yeah, Python too. Just the fact that you can kind of rip things apart and make things work. Oh yeah. There was this. I didn't respond to this using string enums. I'll talk on this a little bit now. Is that I do want to have things like node attributes and stuff. I've mentioned this before, but in later versions like Scene V2, I want to have like node attributes be a lot cleaner, and have it be like there's a single Python class for every node type, and you can easily see what attributes it has, and there's just more like type safety, and it's just a better system to work with. So I think that's kind of addressing the same thing that this would be. I feel like tacking something like this on top of Scene V1, on top of the existing stuff, is probably not a good idea. I think it would be better to just make those improvements in Scene V2, where we can kind of just clean things up from the ground up. That being said, I should take a closer look at this and see if there's anything to it. But I think a lot of those improvements will have to happen at the C layer. Basically just, or like I said, like exposing a Python class for each individual node type, stuff like that, which I think that would kind of do the right thing. As I mentioned, if you look through like some of the dummy _ba.py, there's like a single node class, and it just has like every possible attribute that every node has on it, so that the type checker is sort of able to check your code and be like, oh yeah, there's a radius attribute, maybe. Even though in the game there's only a radius attribute, on certain types of nodes. So it's confusing. Oh, repeat. Okay, I'll do a quick repeat on Android and Python. So Python is open source, and you can compile it for any operating system really. It's pretty general to where you can compile it probably almost anywhere. But yeah, there are ways to compile Python. Like if you go here, this is the old repo I used to be using. It's been archived. But yeah, Python 3 Android. The newer one is... This might be like a fork of it. GG Red Wings, Python 3 Android. Yeah, there are repos out there where it gives you a nice little setup that will basically compile all the... I guess this one's using Docker in this case. I think I'm not using Docker. I'm just using like a Ubuntu server, but I am compiling it using Linux. And then, yeah, I mean, it's kind of a pain in the butt to get everything working, especially like SSL, you know, being able to, like, I finally got SSL working in, I think, Bomb Squad 1.7 or 1.6. I'm sure it's in the changelog. That was a lot of work though. I had to actually had to submit a bug fix or two to Python because there was something where like OpenSSL, it was verifying certificates or, you know, one of the nerdy things it does, and that was causing like a 2-second pause in the game. So I submitted that to them, and there was like Python itself was doing something inefficiently where basically it was like blocking everything while that happened, and it shouldn't be. So I'm happy to say I got that fixed. So yay, the Bomb Squad has it's made a few improvements to Python itself. But anyway, yeah, like I said, Python is fully open source. It's technically possible to compile it anywhere. Even though it's not part of Android, you can kind of compile it into an app, which is what I'm doing in most cases. So anyway, I hope that answers your question. iOS release will also be the same as macOS and Android. Yes. In fact, part of the reason I've been trying to keep the Mac version up to date, even though like the Mac App Store is very tiny compared to like, you know, the vast majority of the players right now are on Android. So like keeping the Mac version up to date is kind of, you know, not that important. But I have been trying to do that because the iOS version and the tvOS version and theoretically like the Vision OS version for the headset or something, that would all share most code with the Mac version. So by keeping that thing working, it's kind of like, you know, making sure that I can launch those versions smoothly. But yeah, it'll be the same thing where Python is compiled into the app. Oh, your train is here. All right. Oh, I didn't. Well, I guess must have. I missed you heading out. So, if you're watching the YouTube video, farewell, Sock. So add better docs for existing. Yeah, that is true. If anyone wants to do that, I feel like it's one of those things where I would rather spend my time working towards the better system. But if someone wants to like better document the existing system, like go for it. I would say if you do, this question comes up like what attributes does a given node have? Like it's not too hard to figure that out if you dig through the source code. Just to show you, if you download the repo, go to source, Ballistica, like scene v1, which is where most stuff is, or like most gameplay stuff, be scene v1 node, and then yeah, just open the source code for any of these nodes. Like here's the Flash node. And you can find, why is this red? That shouldn't be red. Yeah, you can find, there's a place where it like declares the node type, and then there's like this list of attributes here. So you can kind of figure out like which attributes it's got available. So the Flash node has a position, a size, and a color. So pretty straightforward. Spaz node, on the other hand, Spaz node is the most complicated piece of code ever. It is, how long is this thing? It is 6,895 lines. It should probably be about 10 source files, not one. But yeah, there should be a type in here somewhere. So there's the node itself, there's the node class, and then is the type down here, or as body type? Somewhere in here, there's a bunch of attributes. So you can see like what all attributes Spaz has. Oh, here it is. Okay, so yeah, it's a few more than the last one we looked at. But if you're ever curious what attributes are available on Spaz node, just do spaznode.cc and look for Spaz node type. And this is the full list of attributes. Basically, each of these is just a goofy little macro where it's like, this is the name of the attribute. I forgot. A lot of times these are curse death time. I forgot what the first two things are. Let me take a look. Name. Oh yeah. So it's the name of the attribute, and then this is the function that will get it, and this is the function that will set it. And so you can then look up these, set fall sounds. Oh, it's not seeming to find that. Set fall sounds. Yeah, so when you set the fall sounds attribute, this is the C++ code that it runs. So it's basically setting fall sounds on this guy. And fall sounds is all my code lookup stuff seems to be broken at the moment, so probably means I just need to run a build. I've probably gotten like a CMake update in the last day or two or something. So let's give that a moment, see if we can fix this. If not, I'll have to dig more. That's another part of fun part of development is just things randomly just break as things update. So just keeping everything running. It's a substantial part of the job. Okay, let's let this build finish, then I'll reload this file and I'll see if these ugly squiggly red lines go away. Nobody likes squiggly red lines. And they did not. I'll try one more thing. Where is this stuff? Compile commands DB. Okay, I think that's what it's using. Ah. Okay, there we go. Just had to rebuild the compile commands database. No big deal. And now my code lookups are working. Anyway, that's the kind of thing. I'm an Emacs nerd. That's a bit of a bummer. I mean, there's some manual labor involved in keeping stuff like that working. Most of the time with like IDEs and things, it'll kind of do that for you more so. So it's part of me just being masochistic, I guess, and using Emacs. Oh yeah. So stuff about Docker. Yeah, having like a Docker image could be cool if you or anyone wants to maintain something like that, or at least get it up and running. We could add it to the CI system to just like make sure that it works or keep it up to date. Stuff like that. I feel like I'm bad about checking it occasionally, but if it's added to CI, then it just magically either continues to work or catches our attention when it breaks. So anything like that. I got Docker installed on one of my systems. I've been testing that. Docker will probably be what I'll use to build the Steam version, or the kind of the more generic Linux version. Like Valve provides like an old Docker image, which basically lets you compile something using a super old version of Linux, and everything is like forward compatible. So if it builds there, then it'll run on newer Linux builds, and should run most places. So yeah, at some point I want to get that working, get that Docker build building the game. Okay, cool. Yeah, if you got anything like that, any Docker-ish kind of build, or stuff like building like a snap or Flatpak or anything like that out of the game, like that'd be super cool. That might go along with like the Steam build, because for things like that we probably need Python to be self-contained, or need all dependencies of the game to be kind of included with it. But that'd be great, yeah, if we had like a Docker build or something where we just build the game and all of its dependencies. It takes a while to build it doesn't take that long, I guess. I was gonna say, when I build Android Python, it has to build all the dependencies as static libraries. Like, I'm trying to think like what there's like OpenSSL. That's one of the things, and yeah, like some compression libraries, a few things that like Python itself depends on, or I guess OpenSSL is the encryption libraries. But yeah, there's like 2 or 3 things, like bzip, I think. So we might need to wind up doing something like that for the Linux build. So basically that would be the end goal, is to get like a Docker image that like compiles bzip, and then compiles OpenSSL, and compiles Python, and then compiles the game, and it's all just one single binary. Then there's not like a bunch of, because we can't depend on like a lot of shared libraries and things like that, since Linux is so diverse. That's kind of how Android is. It's like Android provides like a bare minimum set of stuff, but anything like OpenSSL or Python or anything like that, you have to kind of compile it into the app. Not leaving. Oh no, I don't. Yeah, I'll stay for an hour. There's enough people here. I was kind of not joking about that, but there were like 3 people and dropping rapidly. So I was like, if there's no one here, like maybe I'll just get back to coding. But there's, look at her. We are up to 7 people. There's a mighty audience. Can make private server compatible with custom script and mods. Oh yeah. I totally understand. Like, yeah, letting you port forward is probably off limits. That is on the to-do list for the squad system, because the squad system is my design for that is basically having everything hosted on my servers, if possible, as long as I can make that like pay for itself, which is that's the one kind of open question because servers are expensive. But that would be super cool because then we can, if there's tournaments and things like that, we can ensure that people aren't, hacking. I mean, a lot better than you can if say you're just running on somebody's random server. And also everyone kind of having equal access to the servers that way. It's not like the host isn't going to have an advantage. So, yeah, I'd encourage you guys if you want to speak, like maybe I don't know, like try typing first. If not, I need to come up with like a policy for like inviting folks to speak. Like I said, it's nice to speak to folks, but it's also I want to give everyone equal access too. Trying to copy out on Android. Yeah, there is a very different C standard library. All right, yeah, folks, try sticking to text, or if you do want to speak, like, mention what you'd like to talk about or something. Just need to get hooked up. Separate build targets, Docker prefab. Yeah, that might be good. Because I feel like the existing build targets are just like you're running Linux, you want to build the game. So yeah, I would say Docker could be a good like prefix to start it with, like Docker dash whatever. Um, yeah, like the existing names just with Docker. Like for me, I have this whole like cloud system built up where I have a bunch of AWS machines that it automatically spins them up and then builds stuff on it and then spins it down. Um, so it's almost like Docker, but I've kind of done the same thing for like the internal repo. So it's like I just have a cloud prefix for all that. So it's like cloud, or no, I guess it's not a prefix, but I just do like cmake cloud build. So it's like a suffix almost in that case. Like let me run this. Cmake cloud build. Let's see, so this is spinning up an AWS machine called LinBeast. So it's got to boot that thing up. It'll take a moment, and then it'll run the build on there, which is kind of it's a fun thing because it's basically like a crazy beastly machine. That's why I call it LinBeast. It's like 30 something procs or whatever. But it actually it just completely like blows through compiling the game. I love it. Let's see how long it takes here. Here we go, installing the Python stuff, as I mentioned. Usually if you rebuild things, it should only have to do that part once. But here we go, building the game. ODE is built. Here we go, building the rest of the game. Oh, it's taking longer than I expected. But it generally, it'll compile the whole game in 20 to 30 seconds. Linking it, downloading it, and boink. All right, there we go. So it's nice for, I can compile stuff faster on like cloud machines than I can like on my laptop in a lot of cases. So I have LinBeast, and there's also like WinBeast. There's LarmBeast, which is ARM Linux Beast. So I have like several beasts. Oh, you're welcome. Glad you like the game. Oh, cool. Yeah, I'd love to see if you can get it fixed. But yeah, it is tricky compiling things on Android. It's gotten a lot better over the years. It used to be like, even though it was built on the Linux kernel and stuff, yeah, it had its own C library and all that stuff, and it also used to have more limitations. Like originally, when you compiled like native stuff using like the native developer kit, like it didn't. I think originally it didn't even support like C++ exceptions or certain things like that, where like some code just wouldn't compile on it. But it mostly it's a lot better than it used to be. So it's not hard to compile most Linux code, or at least it's possible to compile. I shouldn't say it's not hard. Super super toaster oven. Oh, I should have named it. Yeah, just like toaster 1, toaster 2. But yeah, ideally it would be great to have like a Docker Linux build or something where it'll just something, even if it takes a while, because compiling Python and everything else can take a while. It would just, you let it run and eventually it gives you a nice self-contained Linux build that runs everywhere. Like, that would be super cool. Because yeah, that's or even on the Raspberry Pi, like that could be good too. Something similar for there. It'd be nice to just have something like self-contained and well-behaved. Um, let's see. Whoa. Oh gosh. Ah. I know compiling native stuff on Linux, there used to be several, or on Android, there used to be like several standard library options, and they've whittled it down to one. This almost looks like maybe you're using one of the other ones or something, because it should still, I mean, Bomb Squad should compile on there. Yeah, I mean, this sounds like, well, undefined symbol. I mean, this just sounds like some stuff is not getting compiled. Uh, reference by plus Python. Yeah. That's weird. I mean, it does look like it's compiling some stuff there, but I guess when it's linking it, it's not happy for some reason. Yeah, I'd have to dig around in it. Well, that's cool. What's your CS school project? Yeah, I wonder with the dynamic linker. I wonder what that would be. I mean, I would imagine it would be missing. Oh, actually, I was gonna say, is this all plus stuff that it's missing? Reference by plus Python, plus Python. I'm seeing plus Python. So plus is, plus is the little closed source bit where it relies on a precompiled library to get that stuff. So it might have been compiling everything okay, and then there's no plus library to link in. So you might have been hitting that problem too, which theoretically, through the magic of like spin-off and stuff, it might be possible to compile like a spin-off project, which doesn't require plus. It's just, that's very bare bones right now. It would theoretically be possible to, make an entire little single player game without plus involved. There'd be a lot of places where you had to like patch code to be like to survive without plus. But all the open source parts of the game, you could build something with all that without plus. So theoretically, it just hasn't been done yet. It's like, but theoretically, it's possible to build something with no plus. I think there's I don't know if it's on the wiki or where it is, but if you do like make spin-off test base, let's see if that works. So what this is doing, what spin-off test base is doing, it's making a spin-off project that strips out everything except for like the base feature set. So it doesn't have scene v1 or plus or any of that other stuff. And if you remember that, basically it gets to the point where you can bring up a window with a little like spinning thing or something. nothing terribly exciting. So that builds, where does that go to? Spin-off tests base. So if we come into this spin-off test, compile it. Let's see if this does what I expect it will, which should be to bring up, hopefully, a little spinny window thing. Yeah, this should theoretically. So that's what I was going to say. Like what you were just doing, if you can get this to work, you might be able to get this to work. Oh yeah, the spinning potato. Here we go. So you can see here is the engine running with no scene v1, no UI v1. You can still tell it's the engine because you can bring down a little Python thing. And it's, the normal graphics engine and stuff. So this is just base. This is just the base feature set. So there's no close. This is 100% open source. So if you can get that running, and then you might be able to get that running in Linux or in Android. Sorry. And then I still one of the next things on my to-do list is to finally write a tutorial how spin-off works, and stick that up on the wiki. Just basically kind of a walkthrough of how to make like a bare bones project using spin-off. I think I'd have to check dependencies right now. You should be able to do everything except plus. But like I said, there's going to be a ton of places in the source code where it'll crap out if plus isn't there. So that would require a fair amount of patching, but it would be doable. There's a number of places. If we come and look at Python, assert plus is not none. Yeah, anywhere where it's asserting plus is not none. You can see there's lots of little places here. So in random, oh, that's my account client stuff. That is super secret code. Actually, it doesn't really matter, but let's find, here's a place in the store. Some store item display. So you can see you'll see a lot of code like this where it's like plus equals bui.app.plus. And the type of this is either a plugs plus subsystem or none. And so in all these cases for the type checker, it always has to assert that plus is not none. So basically, if plus is none, all these lines will crap out. So you would just have to do something find whichever ones are required for the app to still function, and then just handle them gently. Just if plus is none, return. Stuff like that. The code would just have to be modified to deal with the no plus situation. But in that case, like I said, it should theoretically, even if it is a hacky, it should theoretically be possible to make a fully single player version of the game with no plus involved. I guess the network stuff would still work. It's just there would be no account system. So you'd be joining a game, but you wouldn't have an account ID. The whole potato thing is just because everyone thinks that Kronk says potato, like one of the little potato. It just sounds like he says potato or potato. So that's where that came from. So just kind of rolling with it. But yeah, let me know if you give that a try and if it does work on Android. Another thing, I would love to get the whole public repo working with Android also, just so people can compile Android builds. Even if there's some limitations, like if the name is always going to be Ballistica Kit or something like that, I'll have to see, because I was talking to Mickey Rog about this for all the Eon stuff they're doing. They'd love to have an Android version, so I'd love to support that. I'd love to do it in a way where I don't require people to have Android Studio and Gradle, and because getting a whole set of Android dev tools up and running is kind of an endeavor. Got to install Java, and there's a lot involved. So I'd love to make it where people could basically somehow build an Android build without having to have all that stuff available. So that's one of my hopes. So basically, kind of like the prefab stuff that's in there now for if you want to mess with scripting, but you don't want to download, or you don't want to do C++ compiling, you can run one of the prefab builds, and that will just it'll download a precompiled binary and then use your scripts. So I'd love to do something similar for Android, where maybe it downloads a kind of a pre-baked APK and then stuffs your scripts into it or something like that. Yeah, Android. Android Studio is fine, but it is a beast. And it's not a very, I don't want to even like attempt to help people debug Android Studio issues. It's like I can barely help myself debug them. you know, it, I have it behaves itself pretty well now, but there's still a decent amount of. I just had something the other day where I updated some dependency in Android Studio, which then completely broke all the builds of the game. So I had to downgrade the dependency, but then the next day the dependency itself was updated, so I think the dependency was just broken. So just weird little things like that. Um, so if there's something that's a bit more consistent, like I said, where maybe it pre-compiles a version of the game, which is let Android Studio do that on one of my build machines, and then it'll like inject custom scripts or whatever into that, so people can make Android builds. It's just maybe not compiling the Java layer themselves or something. So I'll have to see how that all can work. But that might come with some limitations, like the name of the app might have certain hard-coded options or something like that. But I think that would be cool. I don't know. There's that part of me I've kind of held off doing that because I don't want to make it too easy for people to make like hacked versions of the games that inject spyware and stuff like that, which I think is more prevalent on Android than it is on Linux hackers. So there's a little bit of hesitance there, but hopefully it'll be okay. But yeah, it would break tournaments. So I think like anyone compiling their own Android build, that would just be a known fact. Is like you can't play current tournaments with your own custom builds. Later on, like once tournaments are in the cloud, like it shouldn't matter. Once a custom build connecting to a cloud server, like it shouldn't be possible for it to like hack the server. I mean, the worst a custom build could do is like have weird features built in like turbo and stuff like that for pressing buttons real fast, or sending commands to the server that normally wouldn't be possible. But the server can filter those out, or limit button press speeds, or something like that to try and fight that stuff. It's a lot easier to fight that stuff than it is to try and prevent people from modifying Python code on their own phone, to mess with game rules or give themselves a billion points, stuff like that. Oh, hey, you're still learning coding when you're messing with this stuff. And there's some C and C++ coding in Bomb Squad if you want to mess around with that layer. It is interesting if you ever want to dig into it, just like the different layers, the C++ layer, just seeing how that interacts with Python. Like if you come into any of this stuff like scene v1, just go into the Python section on any of the feature sets and just see like how it, like this is where it exposes basically the Python API for this feature set. Like these are Python classes that it's defining in C++. Take a look at material here. So when you're defining Python stuff, it's a lot of just like setting up C or C++ structs full of things. Like here's the documentation strings. Here's the C function it calls when it creates a Python object. Here's what it calls when it deletes the Python object. This is what it calls when it gets an attribute from the Python object. And you just have to fill out all this functionality. It's a lot uglier code than the Python layer is, but it's not too crazy. So yeah, all these weird TP underscore, that's just like what Python's stuff looks like. TP underscore type set atcher, type repr, etc. etc. So that's defining Python classes. This is defining Python methods. So these are asset methods. So you can see like, oh, this is the get texture call. It's just, this is a little C function that gets called py-get-texture. And then this is a little structure that tells Python about it. So it's like, hey, I'm making a function called getTexture, and it calls this function, and you can pass arguments or keywords, and here's my documentation for it. And basically then this little structure gets passed along to Python and tells it that this is available. And so then that's basically it. And so then whenever you're using functionality in like, BA base dot some function, you're essentially just calling one of these things. So yeah, it's like I said, if you want to tinker with C++, it's definitely a little hairier than the Python layer, but it's doable. So yeah, so that's another thing on my to-do list. Is it'd be great to get Android builds working on the public repo. But like I said, I kind of want to. I've kind of wanted to coincide that with getting the squad system up and running, because then it won't matter. Like right now, the tournaments are all still on people's devices, and so if I make that easier for people to hack, it might be problematic for tournaments. But yeah, so it's all weighing different factors. Am I recording? Oh yeah, I am. Thankfully, yeah. I had a momentary heart attack there, but yeah, this little dot up here, that means I'm recording. So yeah, I'd love to get Android up and running, and then once 2.0 hits, I'd love to get iOS up and running too, so people can make their own little iOS builds. So yeah, at some point then, it'd be hopefully the GitHub repo, you'll just be able to make all sorts of platforms. Also, like the official Mac build, like right now, if you can build Mac versions using the same CMake stuff, which is kind of the Unix, Linux style stuff. If you come into the public repo, I'll just come into there's the public Ballistica repo. I'm on a Mac. I can type make. Well, just to make sure this works, let me type prefab GUI release. So this should. Refreshing from cache, giving it a moment here. This should just like download a pre-built binary and use scripts and stuff from GitHub. Yeah, see, nice and quick. Didn't have to compile anything. Or if I do make CMake, now this is going through all like the CMake build stuff, building all the C++ layer myself. So that version is what is available on Mac right now on the GitHub repo. I do want to make, there's also like an Xcode version, which is, you can see on my internal repo, which is this. This is, the more kind of Apple-centric one. That's the one that's on the App Store. It's got a bit more like, Apple-specific stuff like Game Center. This one is basically exactly the same as Linux. So, sign in with the website, et cetera, but it doesn't have like Game Center or anything else like that. But yeah, at some point I want to get the Xcode version. I'd love to get that up on the public repo also. Also, eventually, like the full Android version, even the one like the Android Studio one, like I'd love to get that up on there, even though that is a pain in the butt to like get that all working, just for the people, anyone who might want to, take it, go the distance and build a whole app out of it, from the ground up. It'd be nice to have that. So thank you for checking on me on recording. I was quite impressed with myself that I forgot again. A few streams ago. So talking about what feature set has the most stuff. Right now it's mostly spread out different feature sets. The Scene V1, you need that if you're doing any Bomb Squad gameplay type stuff. UI V1, you'll need that if you're doing any, the traditional like Clay windows and all that. And right now, Classic, in terms of feature sets, you probably need Classic. Classic and Scene V1 are kind of intertangled. Actually, all three of these are kind of, UI V1, Classic, and Scene V1, they're all kind of interdependent. It's kind of a mess. I tried to separate them as much as I could, but basically if you pull one in, you probably have to pull all three in. I'll keep things more clean. Like when Scene V2 comes out, it will be basically not reliant on Classic and stuff like that. So at that point, it should be possible to make an app with only like Scene V2 and nothing else. It's a lot easier to start with things separated and keep them separated versus starting with things all intertangled and then taking them apart. That's something I've learned from working with this over the years, trying to like untangle something after the fact is a lot harder than, just building it untangled in the first place. But anyway, yeah, you should theoretically, if you want to mess with spin-off, just see if you can make something that has everything but no plus. That should be possible. Like I said, it'll probably like fail immediately because of those Python lines I was showing you, but theoretically, if you fix enough of those Python lines, it should go through. So yeah, I feel like that's mostly all my topics for today. Anything on anyone's mind? Want to chat about something? Demo something? Request something? Complain about something? Sing a song? I don't know. Still fixing stuff? Okay, take your time. I'll try to buy you time to keep fixing your stuff. I'd love to see your stuff. If not, you can always post it on here later, but we can hang around longer. Oh, way to mess with workspace from inside the game. Yeah, I know that's been a request for a while. In a way, I want to be careful about that. Like, I don't want workspaces to become like a config system, or I don't want people to like abuse them. But at the same point, like maybe that's not the end of the world. I don't know. Because I am like adding a bunch of features to workspaces right now in terms of like being able to compile things and so I just need to make sure I kind of tie it in with that stuff. Or like, yeah. So it's definitely it could be nice to have, especially because you can already do that with basically, if you come into tools here, whoops. Not those tools. These tools, like BA Cloud, so you can kind of programmatically work with workspaces that way. So like, there shouldn't be any reason you couldn't from within the game either. Like I said, I just want to be careful that they don't start to get used for something completely different than their intended purpose, which would prevent me from, evolving them forward or something like that. Strip tools. Get just BA tools, try to compile it. Which or like what are you talking about with token encryption? Or are you referring to Plus or BA tools or? Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, another thing that, it's been on my to-do list forever is to kind of abstract that stuff or, come up with the proper, like a REST API or something where people who wanted to, grab a token and use that token to be able to interact with your account can do it without necessarily having to lug BA tools around and have a full Python environment and stuff like that. Whoa. Cool. I do like the billboardy stuff going on in the background there. That's fun. Oh right, yeah. This sort of thing is always tricky. Where plugins can grab the token. That's not good. We definitely want to be security conscious. That is something I'm always a little terrified with it with like app reviews and stuff. As I mentioned, I've been trying to get this stuff through app review, and it's tricky. Like making the game moddable and very hackable and things like that. It's like trying to toe the fine line between making that easy to do, but also not taking it too far to where, app stores start to reject the game for being like too open-ended or, there's certain rules where like it's okay generally to allow users to supply their own code and tinker and do their own things, but the game itself should not be like automatically downloading code and doing stuff that was not present for app review and things like that. So I can't have the game like auto update its Python layer or stuff like that. That would definitely get me banned. But yeah, also anything where if it does allow users to upload stuff to their workspaces and things like that, yeah, we would want to make sure that that stuff is very secure, um, if at all possible. I guess that is a good point. That I mean, maybe that would just have to be something that's embedded into the Plus system, so that even if someone tinkered around with Python, they wouldn't be able to access like the token or something like that. But then theoretically, someone can still compile their own C code against Plus and scan through memory or something. So it's like how does one do that? Yeah, to be. I mean, moving forward, like in the longer term, more modding. I'm hoping more modding will be on servers. Oh, I think I didn't fully answer this question earlier. I forgot who asked, but the idea of like modding a private server, um, that is planned for the squad system. I have a partially built sandboxing setup where I can run the game on a Linux server on one of my servers, and it'll run it basically fully locked down to where it can't do anything nefarious. It has like strict RAM limits and CPU limits and stuff. So once I get all that stuff working well, then hopefully we can run user mods on custom internet servers, and it'll be safe and sane. So that's the goal. And then yeah, longer term, the goal is more like having people mod server, do server mods and things like that that anyone can share and play and all that. So kind of removing the need for manually installing Python files and wrangling stuff like that and manually distributing things. Just making it more so like, oh, hey, I can write a minigame and poke publish and everyone can play it. Like, that'd be super cool. Um, but yeah, in terms of token, yeah, just keep it in the C++ layer. I mean, there is some security type stuff that works that way where it's like the Plus system just keeps things in the C++ layer where it's not accessible via Python. So that does help with security. Um, but like I said, theoretically, I mean, people right now still can compile their own C++ code that interacts with the Plus library. So you could do nefarious things, like compile your own C++ code to just scan your process's memory and look for stuff or whatever. So it's yeah, want to have it be flexible, but it's also kind of impossible to fully secure. I mean, I guess that's true. Like if a user gets their own token, it'd be more just like if they're. I mean, I guess if all code is installed by a user, it's still, it's not too likely that. I mean, obviously, we don't want situations where you can, run remote Python code on somebody else's machine or something. There is still like the worry that, someone could distribute a Python mod that has some nefarious code built in that would say, I mean, it might be possible. I'd have to check. It might be possible for Python to scan process memory. There might be I don't know if that functionality is built in with default Python stuff. Or depending on the platform, I mean, if you can run, untrusted Python code, you could compile a plugin, or it's like there's various things you could do to run your own native code. Well, I mean, the fundamental thing is, I mean, right now private servers I mean, the whole thing with private servers is they run on my servers, which is mainly, to work around. I mean, you can host your own server, but then you have to deal with port forwarding and all that. Private servers, just it runs on my servers so that you don't have to deal with that. But the limitation right now is that, yeah, I don't have the sandboxing in place, so it limits you to, the game types that are built into the game that are, approved or whatever. But I'd love to remove that limitation. But yeah, if we're talking about running on somebody's, I mean, we can't allow just running. Well, even if we only allowed, we're somehow strict about running your own scripts. It's still, people might try to hack the servers. It's even if it is trusted by that user, like that user could still try to do nefarious stuff. Like run some server code that's mining Bitcoin on one of my beefy servers or something, and then suddenly I'm paying a ton of money every month for somebody's Bitcoin mining. I need to be careful about what code gets run there. But yeah, so the end goal is that, yeah, people should be able to run their own scripts, but there will be, it'll just be very limited in terms of like that. Your script will not be able to do anything like launch other processes, or if it uses too much CPU, it'll get throttled, or if it uses too much memory, it'll get shut down. Basically just kind of a reasonable limited environment for where you can still make mods and make fun games and all that, but it'll just prevent people from doing anything else. C types. I don't recall. I think that works now. I was gonna say I think that maybe didn't work before, but I think it should work. I think as of the 3.11, I think I got that compiling on Android and iOS. So I think we have C types. But if you try it and it doesn't work, let me know, because maybe there is a handful of things. If you're curious actually and you want to nerd out a bit, if you go under Tools, I think it's Efro Tools. Efro Tools. I know I've pointed this out before. PyBuild. So this is what it uses to build Python for Android and for Apple platforms. So it's not that complicated. It's basically, I think there should just be targets to run this under. Let me check. Tools, pcommand. Yeah, there's all this stuff. Under pcommand, there's Python, all this stuff. So if you try like Python build Android, something like that. So that will attempt to like go through my little build process, which downloads Android from that website or that GitHub site I showed you, applies a handful of patches to it, and builds it. You need like a Linux box to be able to pull that off. And then it strips out a few things. So if you go through here, you can kind of see like what stuff it keeps in or strips out. So you could, if you look for C types, set of modules we want statically compiled into our Python lib. So it looks like C types should be here. This is from a year or two ago where I was trying to get C types working. Seems this doesn't work. But I believe, oh yeah, if bool false. So yeah, this part is no longer there. I think this code is either obsolete or doesn't work or something like that. So I think C types actually works as of this year. I could be wrong. Uh-oh. Context of the provided type is not set. This probably means you're running a base timer. So the game has contexts, if you're familiar, like the whole, when you do like new node, it applies to the current context, which is usually like a scene v1 context or there used to be a UI context, there's not anymore. But this one probably is expecting to be run in like a scene context, and it's not in this case. if that's happening because maybe the scene's been torn down or something, like that might be okay. You could just like do a try and catch the exception. Yeah, there's a number of ways the game deals with that, where it's like sometimes like I want to say like ba-base.call, certain things like that, it will actually like, capture the context and then restore it when the call runs. There's certain kind of automated things that do that. So I don't know if you can get a sense of what you'd need to do based on that. Settings UI is not opening, no errors, nothing. Hmm. Well, that last part's odd. Func equals plugin. Um, no, that shouldn't show settings UI unless. Yeah, no, it shouldn't. I don't think. I mean, unless like plugin.show settings UI. So you have a plugin instance and you're passing that. Let's go find plugins. Boink. Whoops. Boink. Okay, so yeah, that's a normal like non-static function. Yeah, so normally, yeah, if you pass like plugin.show settings UI, that should keep plugin alive because like this is basically a bound function or a bound method. And so that bound method contains both a reference to the plugin and a reference to that function. So it should keep plugin alive. Um, Depending on what you pass it to, maybe there's something that like doesn't hold a reference to it or something. So maybe plugin could be going away. Uh, that's one of those weird like Python-y reference things. You could always, I mean, you can come in and be hacky and just do like. Sometimes if I'm not sure if some object is like dying, I'll just come in and do like add a temporary delete method and be like, plugin is dying. And then if you see this code run like before you expect your callback to run, it probably means like something is not holding a reference to this guy and is letting it die. So I don't know if that's helpful at all. Because there are some weird things where like weak references, some things hold like weak references which won't keep an object alive, or things like that. Sure, yeah. If you want to stream, go for it. So I will go ahead and yeah, I'll stop mine and then feel free to start. So. Brr, brr, brr. All right, what have we here? Many colors. Cool, cool.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah. Hello.
Yeah, so when the, the setting button only appears when it has the setting UI,
Oh, okay.
else it will not appear. For others, it will not appear, but for this it appears, but it doesn't give any error when you press it.
Weird.
But in the end, it gives the handprint, which one
Huh.
second. It was ran here.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah.
gives that it has run, but it has not given any output
Oh,
out
I see
here.
can you go back there for a second? So that when you have bui.call, what that is doing, it's creating a call object, and a call object just wraps up a function and arguments, but it doesn't actually call that call object. Does that make sense?
Yes, so how to
Um,
call it?
I mean, in that case, if you're just calling it directly, you could just call function func button. Um, oh, but you said the issue was that it like passes the button as an argument, or what was there was like is there a reason that doesn't work?
Don't let's try.
Because call is mainly used to like wrap up a function and some arguments that you want to pass to something else that will call it.
No, works.
Cool. That doing the right thing, it looks like.
Yeah,
Cool. Nice. All right. So yeah, apologies if I misexplained call, but yeah, it's you can use call if you want to just bundle a whole function call and use it later.
yeah, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Very cool stuff though. That's awesome. So is everything working with the editing? Like, is that all working reasonably? Nice. Yeah, that seems like it could be quite handy. Be something where it's awesome you got it working with kind of the limited text editing stuff available, but it could be a nice excuse to add better text editing at the low layer. Yeah. BUI.call is basically Lambda. There is a kind of important difference though, which it took me a long time to learn. Um, let's see. Uh, let's just do p command. Let's see. So how to explain this? But Lambda basically will refer to if you do like foo equals 1, and then you do like lambda, or yeah, like call equals lambda print foo. So the thing about a lambda is it refers to all this stuff live. So like it refers to foo as a live variable. So then if you do call, you will see 1. But then if you do foo equals 2, and then call, you'll see 2. If that makes sense, because basically lambda is just
Hello?
hello.
Yeah, sorry to disturb. You only projected only the Discord screen.
Oh no! Oh shoot! Okay, let me fix that. Thank you. Sorry. Okay, is that better? They need like a button to make like an explosion in the side of the screen, so it like catches my attention when I'm talking. Anyway, so what I was saying is, if you have a lambda here, so lambda print foo, and then we call, it'll print 1, and then we call foo equals 2, and then do call, it'll print 2. Because you can see like the lambda is kind of like evaluating the stuff live. But if you do like the babase.call or functools.partial, it's the exact same thing, or basically the exact same thing. You do like foo equals 1, call equals babase.call, print foo, and then we do call, you'll print 1, and then we do foo equals 2, call, it'll print 1 still. Because see, you're like, here you're basically baking the value into this object. So it can bite you in the butt if you're using lambdas and you're not expecting that. Like one thing, like this happens a lot in loops, like for I in range 10, schedule something, lambda, do thing I. So like if you have code like this, where something's supposed to run 10 times, and you pass it a lambda, and you think like, oh, this is gonna run for I equal 1, I equal 2, I equal 3, I equal 4. But if this stuff doesn't run until later, it's all gonna run for 10. Does that make sense? So if do thing prints I, you know, you're just gonna see like 10, 10, 10. You'd be like, why the heck? I wanted this to print 1 through 10, but it's only doing 10. Does that make sense? Like it's because it's evaluating I what it is at the time. And so if this is running like in a timer or later, I is going to be 10 because that loop finished a long time ago. So anyway, it's a subtle difference between lambdas and ba-base.call. Or like I said, you can do the exact same thing with partial. Call equals ba or functools.partial print foo. I want to say ba-base.call does. I think it like captures the current context and restores it, but I'm not sure. But these are mostly interchangeable. But they are slightly different than lambda. So anyway. Yeah, so call keeps a reference to the arguments, and lambda like evaluates the arguments basically. So lambda, I think technically lambda keeps a reference to like the dictionary, which is like the function environment. So it's basically saying like, hey, everything that was in this little function, look up the value of I in that dictionary, you know, which is like the locals or whatever it's all called in Python. Whereas these guys, they simply just take that value and stuff it in a little object. Same thing as partial. So it's just like baking down those values. Because if you know, like integers and strings and things like that are immutable in Python. So if you set something to 2 and then you pass that to a function and then you set foo to 3, like the one you pass to that function is still 2. It's like, oh geez, you guys are like subconsciously manipulating me with emojis. It's like Pavlov's dog. I'm just like, coffee. All right, well anyway, I hope this has been a useful little mini tutorial. Like I said, I feel like I finally wrapped my head around this whole thing within the last year or two. And it is kind of a powerful concept, the whole like the difference between like lambdas and wrapping stuff in other ways. Because sometimes you do want it to like evaluate using the original objects here. But sometimes you don't. Sometimes it's good to just like bake this stuff down and call it later. I always, I feel like I've worn the same like 2 or 3 shirts in all of my streams. It doesn't mean I wear them for a week. I rotate them out, but they're just very comfortable shirts to wear at home. So I always have this or my blue or my red long sleeve shirt. Cool. All right. Well, I think that takes us up to noon, so we're just about out of time. The one thing we need what have we discussed today? We need a name for the stream on YouTube. What's the stupid name? Help me. Wait, with what? What is there a question here or? Oh yeah, Thursday. We could reference Thursday. Like what the hell? WTF Thursday? Thursday potatoes. Okay. Talked about lambdas a bit here, but I don't know if that's a fun name. context things. Well, what are you trying to do in that case with the context? I mean, that will, like, you can use contexts, like if you, but usually I think it's like you save and restore a context. So like if like you might save the scene context, and then if you're running that in some other code, you like restore it with that with statement. Normally that isn't something you have to do manually. Most things that accept callbacks and stuff, they kind of save the context for you. So anyway, I probably can't provide too much more specific help than that, but I'll try to lurk here on Discord for a bit so I can try to answer a few questions, though I will have to get back to my heads down coding here soon, because as I said before, I'm terrible at multitasking, so I need to finally defeat these app reviewers and get my updates on the store and everything like that. At least Google's been good to me. They haven't rejected my updates lately, so but I do need to get them through the Apple people too, just because I still do plan on iOS and all that stuff for 2.0, so I want to have everything ready to go. Oh, sorry. I apologize if I talk too fast or anything. Hopefully you can still pick up some of what I'm saying. But so next week we'll be back to Wednesday for coffee, or the next time, which will probably be in 2 weeks, unless I get through this review stuff and I finally get assets working well really quickly next week. But imagine it won't be that quick. I mean, well, if I have something to show next week. I felt bad I didn't, like, this week most of my showing was just like me complaining about app reviews. So it wasn't a whole lot of show and tell. We did at least learn a little about lambdas though, so that's something. Do you have to show them source for getting a review? No. Basically, they just launch the game and poke around, and I mean, they have access to whatever's in the game. So in this case, it's most of the Python code. They basically just try to see if you're breaking any rules or whatever, or they have a lot of UI guidelines and stuff too. Like I said, the one thing I got in trouble for was taking people out to a website to sign in with the Ballistica account. One of the rules is like, that's a bad experience. You should have them do that in the app. And now that I have them in, it is possible in the app. It is like a nicer experience. So I don't feel too bad for having spent some time on that. But yeah, it's just like this one last remaining issue, which I am not quite even sure like what their complaint is. So I'm trying to figure that out. But well, I'll get to the bottom of it. How do they know if it's not a malicious? I don't think they do. I'm sure they have stuff that like detects, anything your app is linking to, or any calls that it's making, or stuff that it's not supposed to be doing. I mean, I don't think they can perfectly check everything, and there have been apps that like disable functionality only to enable it after that gets through review. I mean, people try to sneak stuff in, so yeah. I mean, if they catch you doing that, they will take you off the store then later, But yeah, I mean, I think they just do the best they can to like make sure you're following guidelines, and then if they catch you later, you'll get in trouble for that. All right, so yeah, this is a bummer. This stuff has been delaying 1.8, but doing the best I can, trying to get it out as fast as I can. I'm not like spending my time playing games or anything like that. Just making games. All right. Well, anyway, it's been fun, everyone. We'll get to All right. Yeah, it's a race between me. When is GTA 6 supposed to come out? Actually, I should. That could be a fun race. Or not, depending if it's 2026. Okay. All right. There's. Oh yeah, that's a while out. Okay, we're good. There's hope. Again, I never want to comment on exact dates or commit to exact dates because I'm terrible about that. But that sounds doable. Let me tell myself that. And delayed 1,000 times. Okay, see, well, I'm not the only one. I mean, not that I don't know if 2.0 has been delayed since I never really had an official date, but yeah, it's taken a while. All right. Anyway, on that note, been fun, everyone. I'm going to get back to work now, and I will talk to all of you folks next week. Like I said, I'll lurk on Discord a bit if anyone has any last thoughts or anything. But otherwise, see you all later. So peace out, folks.